People who spend 6 months grinding every AWS certification, memorizing 200 services, watching 40-hour tutorial courses, they are not the ones getting hired. The ones getting hired are doing maybe 20% of that work and getting 80% of the results. Same industry, same job market, completely different outcomes. And after a decade of building infrastructure at Fortune 500 companies and helping over 700 people master cloud engineering in AWS, I've watched this pattern play out hundreds of times. Most people are learning AWS in a way that makes them feel productive without actually making them hireable. Let me show you why that happens and what to do instead. Here is what most AWS learning content teaches you. Memorize services, EC2 does this, S3 does that, Lambda is serverless, pass the certification exam, apply for jobs, get hired. That worked in 2019. It doesn't work anymore. LinkedIn's 2024 hiring data shows that 58% of hiring managers now prioritize demonstrated skills over certifications. That number was only 41% 3 years ago. The shift is accelerating. This is because employers got burnt. They hired people with free certifications who couldn't build anything. They interviewed candidates who could recite service names, but they froze when asked to design a solution. The certification became a checkbox, not a differentiator. So the question becomes, what actually differentiates you now in 2026? And that's what this video is about, not what to learn. Everyone teaches that, but how to learn it in a way that makes employers actually want to hire you. And I call it the FAST method. FAST is how you cut through the noise. F is for focus. Learn the 20% of AWS that delivers 80% of the value. A is apply. Build while you learn, not after. S is for show. Document publicly, create proof of work. T is target. Apply to roles where your projects are relevant. Quality over quantity. Fast. That's the system. And let me break down each piece. F for focus, the 80-20 of AWS. AWS has over 200 services, and most people think that they need to learn all of them, or learn at least most of them to be competitive. That's completely wrong. Here is how AWS usage actually works in enterprise environments. A small percentage of services handle the vast majority of workloads. The same 6 categories show up in almost every single architecture: compute, storage, networking, databases, identity, and monitoring. Master those and you can handle 80% of what employers actually need. Compute, so EC2 and Lambda, traditional workloads and serverless, everything else is ECS, EKS, or Fargate. You need to learn when you need it. Storage, S3, the backbone of almost everything. Bucket policies, lifecycle rules, versioning, encryption. Go deep here. Networking, VPC, subnets, security groups, route tables, load balancers. This is all foundational. If you don't understand networking, then to be honest, you don't understand cloud. Database, RDS for relational, DynamoDB for NoSQL. Know when to use each. IAM, identity access management, roles, policies, least privilege. Most security incidents in AWS actually trace back to identity access management configurations. Monitoring, CloudWatch, logs, metrics, alarms. You need to see what's happening in your systems. That is it. 6 categories, maybe 10 to 12 services in total. And the other 190 services, you'll learn them on the job for specific projects that actually require them. And honestly, most of them you'll never touch. Now, this isn't learning less. It's actually learning the right things deeply instead of everything a little bit more shallow. So, A is for apply. Build while you learn. So let me show you why certifications alone aren't getting people hired. Here is how the hiring funnel actually works. The recruiters get 200 resumes. They have about 30 seconds per resume. They control F for AWS certified. 150 resumes have it. That's not a differentiator. That's a filter. Now, the recruiter is looking at 150 nearly identical candidates. Same certs, same bullet points, same experience, EC2, S3, Lambda. So what breaks this tie? The GitHub link, the one candidate who could show, not just tell. So here is the pattern I've seen play out hundreds of times. Person A has 3 AWS certifications, no projects, no portfolio. They send 200 applications, they get maybe 2 free interviews, struggle with system design questions, and they don't get hired. Person B has 1 certification, maybe just even the cloud practitioner, but they have 3 real projects on GitHub with documentation, and they've been sharing their progress publicly. They send 50 applications, they get 10 interviews, they can actually walk through their design decisions, they get hired. Now, the difference here isn't intelligence. Person A probably spent more time studying. The difference is proof. Certifications prove that you can pass these tests. Projects can prove that you can do the work. Now, I'm not saying to skip certifications entirely. The AWS Solutions Architect Associate is solid. It gives you the vocabulary. It gives you a mental map. But here is the efficient approach. Study for the cert while building projects. Every concept that you learn Immediately apply it. Learning VPC, build one. Learning IAM, create roles and policies for your project. Learning S3, well, set up a static site with proper permissions. Same material, same time investment, but now you're actually creating proof of work while you learn. That's the A in fast, apply as you go. Now, not all projects are created equal. Most people build tutorial projects. They follow a YouTube video step by step, deploy something and put it on their resume. Built a serverless application with Lambda and DynamoDB. Here is the problem. The hiring manager has seen that exact line on 50 resumes this week because 50 people followed the exact same tutorial. What actually differentiates you isn't the project itself. It's whether you can explain why you made the decision that you made. So let me show you the difference. The tutorial approach is, I'm going to build a serverless API. Follow the steps, click here, type this, deploy that. You learn how to follow instructions, and the first principle approach here is a company needs to handle 10,000 user registrations per day with unpredictable traffic spikes. How would I design this? Now you're thinking, EC2 or Lambda. Lambda scales automatically, handles unpredictable spikes without over-provisioning. What about the database? DynamoDB handles scale well, but do I need relational queries? What about cold starts? How will this affect user experience at this volume? How do I handle authentication? What happens if Lambda times out mid-registration? Again, same technologies, completely different learning and different thinking. Now, when you build this way, interviews go differently. The hiring manager asks, walk me through something that you've built. Instead of saying, I followed this tutorial on serverless, you say, I designed a registration system for 10,000 daily users with traffic spikes. I chose Lambda over EC2 because of the cost model at variable load. You pay for what you use, not for idle capacity. I use DynamoDB with single table design to minimize latency. Here, we're not memorizing anymore because that's not memorization, that's thinking. And thinking is what employers pay for. So here is the part that most people skip. Documentation. Your projects without documentation are invisible. Nobody can see your thinking or read your thinking. Nobody knows why you made the decision that you made. But documentation isn't extra work. It's actually a multiplier on the work that you're already doing. When you document publicly, GitHub READMEs, LinkedIn posts, 3 different things happen. 1, you learn deeper. Writing forces you to actually understand what you did. You can't explain something clearly if you don't understand it. 2, you become discoverable. Recruiters search LinkedIn. Hiring managers Google candidates. When they find your article on how I built a multi-tier VPC architecture, you're already ahead. 3, you demonstrate communication. One of the biggest complaints from engineering managers is that technical people cannot communicate. Written content that explains complex concepts clearly proves that you can bridge that gap. So here's the format. The problem. So what real scenario does this solve? The architecture, the visual diagram plus the explanation, the decisions, why you chose each service, what trade-offs did you consider, the challenges, what didn't work, how did you debug it, 500 to 1,000 words per project, 1 page. And here is the lazy path. Repurpose everything and everywhere. GitHub README becomes LinkedIn post. LinkedIn post becomes interview talking points. Same work, multiple outputs. And that's the S in fast. So let me tie this into a concrete timeline. Phase 1, the foundation. Get the Solutions Architect Associate certification, but build as you learn. Every section of the course, immediately apply it. Use the AWS free tier and don't spend the money that you don't have. Everything that I'm describing costs literally under $20 a month if you're careful. Phase 2, build. 3 portfolio projects. Project 1 is a foundation project. Multi-tier VPC with public and private subnets, NAT gateways, security groups, Bastion host. Very simple, very fundamental. This proves you understand networking. Project number 2, application. A real application with CI/CD, infrastructure as code with Terraform, automated deployments with GitHub Actions. You can even use CloudWatch for monitoring. Project number 3, showcase. Something that solves a real problem. Cost optimization tool, AI integration with Bedrock, security automation. This is going to be your differentiator. Document everything as you build. Don't leave it for later because you won't do it. Phase 3 is visibility. Post on LinkedIn weekly. Not fluff, but technical content. Here is what I learned building a VPC from scratch. 3 IAM mistakes that I made and how I fixed them. Why I chose DynamoDB over RDS for this project. 1 post per week, 20 minutes, and it compounds over time. Phase 4, apply. Now you start applying, but not to 500 jobs, to 50 targeted roles where your projects are relevant. Then you want to customize your resume for each role. Reference your project specifically. Link your GitHub. Quality over quantity. And a total timeline here can be between 8 to 12 weeks of focused effort, not 6 months or scattered tutorials. Focus, project-based learning with proof of work. That's the FAST framework. And one more thing. In 2026, cloud engineering without AI understanding is like cloud engineering without networking knowledge 5 years ago. AWS Bedrock, AI agents, RAG architectures, these aren't niche topics anymore. They're showing up in job descriptions heading into 2026. They're showing up in interviews. So your third project, the showcase piece, should have at least an AI component. Document processing with Bedrock, a chatbot using RAG, cost analysis with AI recommendation. You're not becoming an AI specialist, you're just showing that you understand how AI integrates with cloud infrastructure. That's the edge that most candidates don't have just yet. Because everyone's asking the wrong question. What certs should I get? How many services should I memorize? How do I stand out with the same resume as everyone else? These are completely wrong questions, all of them. The right question is, what can I build that proves that I can solve problems employers actually have? Answer that one. And then the certifications become supporting evidence instead of your entire case. Ignore it, and no number of certifications will save you. Fast. Focus on the 20% that matter. Apply by building as you learn. Show your work publicly. Target roles where your proof is relevant. That's the path. Everything else is noise. I'm rooting for you. Good luck.